Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do a fun one today. I thought it would be a fun one because I don't really want to do these if they're not fun. And in this one, we're going to look at the word mortgage, mortgage. So I'm going to do a deep dive into it, and that is go into the parse of the word and then go into the syntax, the deeper syntax of the letters that make up the word. But first we got to follow the continuance of the evidence. We start at where we are right now with the word and what it means, and then backtrack to see where it comes from, its roots, its earliest nativity roots, what it meant back then, and then we will get into the syntax. So, hope you enjoy it. Going on to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's website, an official website of the United States government, what do they say a mortgage is? Well, a mortgage to them is an agreement between you and a lender that gives the lender the right to take your property if you don't repay the money you've borrowed plus interest. Little bit of side data for you. Do you know where interest comes from, and do you know what ethnic or group of folks brought that concept to society? I don't want to get into this right off the bat and get my algorithm messed with, but that's just something maybe you might want to look up. And there is a reason why. For example, in Islam, interest is forbidden. Now I'm going to look at what Webster's 1828 says about a mortgage. Mortgage. Literally a dead pledge. The grant of an estate in fee as security for the payment of money, and on the condition that if the money shall be paid according to the contract, the grant shall be void, and the mortgagee shall reconvey the estate to the mortgager. Formerly, the condition was if the mortgager should repay the money at the day specified, he might then re-enter on the estate granted in pledge. But their modern practice is for the mortgagee, on receiving payment, to reconvey the land to the mortgagor. Before the time specified for payment, that is, between the time of contract and the time limited for payment, the estate is conditional and the mortgagee is called tenant in the mortgage, but on failure of payment at time limited, the estate becomes absolute in the mortgagee. But in this case, courts of equity interpose, and if the estate is of more value than the debt, they will, on application, grant a reasonable time for the mortgager to redeem the estate. This is called the equity of redemption. So, a verb transitive, mortgage, to grant an estate in fee as security for money lent or contract to be paid on a certain time and the condition that the debt shall be discharged according to the contract, the grant shall be void, otherwise remain in full force. It is customary to give mortgage for securing the repayment of money lent or payment of the purchase money of an estate or for any other debt. So check it out. Already a portion of the entire capital of the nation is mortgaged for the support of drunkards. Anyways, nowhere in this 1828 definition is the word interest mentioned. I bet that changed after World War II. So let's put this in our little study sheet here, what a mortgage is. An agreement between you and a lender that gives the lender the right to take your property if you don't repay the money you've borrowed plus interest. And now we're going to do a deep dive into the etymology and the roots of where this word comes from. So I'm going to give you some data that will be pertinent to what we do later with the syntax. So you see here it says mortgage, and then you see N in parentheses. That is an indicator, a strong indicator of tangibility. When we go into the syntaxing mechanics of tangibility and non-tangibility, which If you want to learn about that, please look at my syntax playlist. Late 14th century, mortgage, a conveyance of property on condition as security for loan or agreement. Old French mortgage, 13th century, mortgage, literally death pledge, replaced in modern French by hypothèque, from mort, dead, plus gage, pledge. So called because the deal dies when the debt is paid or the payment fails. Old French mort is from Vulgar Latin mortis, dead. From Latin mortus, past participle of mori, to die. From Proto-Indo-European root mer, to rub away harm, also to die. The T was restored in modern. Okay, so we'll go with the first part, mortal. Let's check that out. So we have late 14th century, deadly, destructive to life, causing or threatening death of persons or the body, doomed to die, subject to death, destined to die, deserving of death, blah, 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 mors, death. This is reconstructed to be from Proto-Indo-European mr-o- to die, mr-to- dead, mr-ti- death, all from pi root mer, to rub away harm, possibly identical with the root mer, which means to die, and forms words referring to death and to being subject to death, which it says here. So that's mortal as an adjective, which is an indicator of tangibility. Mort, we could say, means death. Destined to die, death. And an AL is contract. So mortal is a contract with death. Now that makes sense, doesn't it? If you're a mortal, then you have a contract with death, because everything that's born is going to die, right? If you're a living, breathing creature, death comes with birth. That's the balance. Now, for example, if you use the word immortal, I-M-M-O-R-T-A-L, that's a contract with not dying, because I-M means no, or a vowel in front of a consonant at the beginning of a word means no. No contract with. So now let's look at the second part, gauge, which they're saying is a pledge, and then they say see wage. So let's look up wage. Wage is tangible. Circa 1300, a payment for services rendered, reward, just deserts, salary, pledge, pay, reward, Frankish, from Proto-Germanic wadi, a doublet of gauge. So let's look gauge up first. A pledge, a pawn, something valuable deposited to ensure performance. Something thrown down as a token of challenge. Pledge of battle. Security, guarantee, pay, reward. Okay, that all makes sense. So see wed. Take a husband or wife, get married. Old English wedian, which we go for the earliest nativity root meaning here in the quantum grammar domain. So Old English is pretty damn old. To pledge oneself, covenant to do something, vow, betroth, marry. Old German, wager. Old Frisian, to promise, Gothic, betroth. Proto-Indo-European root, pledge. So pledge, as most of you have probably known all along, it means pledge. So now let us compare the etymology of the word, the earliest nativity root meanings that we've come to, that we've arrived at, we've concluded with the modern meaning of the word. So the modern meaning of the word mortgage is an agreement between you and a lender that gives the lender the right to take your property if you don't repay the money you borrow plus interest. And then mortgage just means death pledge. So that you can take that however you want to take it, either which way. Mortgages are usually not a good thing for someone who gets them. What are the purpose of a mortgage? Well, it's for folks who can't afford a house. It enslaves them, so to speak, into a contract so that they can live in this house, but it's not their house. Not until they pay it. And even after they pay it, it's still not their house. Even though the mortgage is done, they're still paying taxes on it. Like if you are a consumer and you buy a candy bar or you buy a soda or bottled water or whatever it is you're buying, there's a consumer tax on that, right? You pay it one time. If I buy a soda and put it in the refrigerator, I don't drink soda, by the way, I'm just saying, and I put it in the refrigerator and I still have it a year from now, do I pay that same tax on it next year or more? No, I don't. It's a one-time tax. Yet, if you have property or things like that, you pay every year. Why is that? That's something for someone else to talk about. What I'm going to talk about here is the grammar, and now I am going to syntax the word mortgage, the letters in the word mortgage. So what I've done here is hopefully make the letters look cooler for you, you viewers at home there, and also to my live audience. And what I'm going to do is, just as in a document contract postal vessel court venue where you have a single space between words, symbols, pictographs, I'm going to do the same here, so that each of these letters is to be taken as a separate entity. So think of each of these letters as a word, something to be syntaxed in relation to one another. Now, if you've watched my syntax playlist and checked out those videos that give you closure on how to credential tangibility or non-tangibility, you will know that consonants are syntaxed as tangible contract. Vowels are syntaxed as non-tangible contract. And this plays into the reason why one vowel, a single vowel at the beginning of a word followed by a consonant is no contract, because vowels are non-tangible. So we have a tangible contract M, followed by a non-tangible contract O, followed by a tangible contract R, tangible contract T, tangible contract G, non-tangible contract A, tangible contract G, and non-tangible contract E. So we know that any syntax scenario will either start with a pronoun, an adverb, or an adjective. It will never start with a verb in fiction babble. Now, a correct sentence structure communication may start with a verb if the author is asking a question using correct sentence structure. But in the fiction, you will not find one of the syntax scenarios that starts with a to. They either start with a pronoun, a for, an adverb, a one, or an adjective, which is a three. So what I'm looking at here is M as a pronoun, followed by O as an adverb, which is modifying are into an adjective, which is coloring T to another adjective, which is coloring G into a pronoun. And we all know ad nauseum that nothing may follow a pronoun except for a break in the continuance of the evidence or an adverb. And that adverb is modifying the G into an adjective, which is now coloring E into a pronoun. So here are your syntax scenarios. You have a 4-1-3-4 and a 1-3-4. And if you go a little deeper, you can see a 4-1-3-4. And also, when I say nothing may follow a pronoun except for a break in the continuance of the evidence or an adverb, although adverbs are not breaks in the continuance of the evidence, they certainly function like one, because that would be correct, because M is standing by itself. And also this would be correct. However, by comparison, if you were to do this, that would not be correct, because ending a syntax scenario on an adverb or an adjective is not correct grammatically or syntactically, because if you end a syntax scenario on a modifier, there's nothing left to modify. So it couldn't possibly be an adverb. In this particular scenario right here, this whole thing would have to change. The G would be an adjective, and then the A would become a pronoun if this were the case. But it's not the case, because this is the case right here. So there you go. I hope this wasn't too confusing for you beginners out there. Because if it was confusing for you, I strongly urge you to watch my syntax playlist and Parse playlist, and also the correct sentence structure communication playlist, which, if you study those videos, and there are over 1,000 of them free to the public, if you study those videos, it will give you a much better grasp on what I just spoke about here, and giving you closure on this term mortgage. And for those of you out there who like a little something extra, you see the picture in my background there. You know what that is? Let me know in the comments if you do. There's a reason why I posted that picture there, and it has to do with the subject of this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, liking, sharing the video, boosting the video. All the things that you folks do that support this channel. I appreciate that. Remember, there are no charges or fees for what I do. If you want to donate something, that's considered a donation, and it's appreciated. Thank you, and que sera, sera.